From the News and Current Affairs Department of King's Ethics, a pleasant good afternoon and welcome to King's Newsbroom. 45 minutes of news about Liberia and the rest of our one globe. I'm Stephen Compton. First, the headline. U.S. Department of State 2024 Investment Climate Report on Liberia indicates bad governance, corruption, and low human development says public trust in the banking sector is low. Commercial Code of Liberia temporarily shuts down National Elections Commission for non-compliance with court's ruling regarding payment of M-Tosh Print Media Incorporated US 170 debt. Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency warns citizens against ghetto raid outside LDEA approval and coordination. Describe it as risks to public safety, violation of human rights, and compromised legal procedure. And away from Liberia, Burkina Faso's junta has expelled the United Nations top official to the West African nation over a report about children caught up in the jihadist conflict. And elsewhere, Arab mediators are awaiting a formal response from Israel after Hamas said it had accepted a new proposal for a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal. Details of this information, the news bulletin, and the voices of the news makers are all packaged. We are taking a very short break to be right back. Welcome back. Up next is the bulletin of news with Johnson.
The United States Department of that's the United States Department of State has released its report on Liberia's 2024 investment climate, indicating low human development and corruption. According to the 2024 investment climate indicators, expensive and unreliable electricity, poor roads, and a lack of reliable internet access, especially outside urban areas, and pervasive government corruption constrain investment and development are high in Liberia. The U.S. investment climate statement on Liberia noted that corruption and misgovernance continue to hinder growth, investment, and job creation, with Liberia's largely commodities-based economy relying heavily on imports even for most basic needs like fuel, clothing, and rice. U.S. Department of State added that Liberia's GDP ranks among the highest or the lowest in the world, but the economy grew by 4.7% in 2023 and is projected to grow 5.3% in 2024, noting that the public understanding of corruption in the public sector is high. At the same time, the report outlined low public trust in the banking sector and lack of access to business financing, noting that most cash are held outside of banks. It further indicated that the government is yet to achieve its long-term national electronic payment system, known as the National Switch, meaning banking institutions like ATM and mobile money accounts remain unintegrated and are not interoperable. The Commercial Court of Liberia has issued a writ of execution against the National Elections Commission for its failure to pay the judgment debt totaling US 171,000 to M-Touch Prints Media Incorporated. The court, in its writ of execution, ordered the NEC national headquarters in Cinco to be temporarily shut down due to non-compliance with the court's ruling and failure to satisfy the outgoing or the outstanding obligation. The writ, signed by Associate George Chancha A. Pega, authorizes Acting Sheriff Emmanuel Morris to seize and expose for sale the NEC movable assets, land, goods, and chattels to recover the debt should assets prove insufficient. The legal action brought by M-Touch Prints Incorporated, represented by Vanning family, stems from unpaid contractual obligations. However, Despite a legal judgment rendered by the court on June 3, 2025, the NEC has repeatedly failed to make payments. The rate further mandates the personal appearance of NEC Executive Chairperson, Madam Devi Eto Brown Lassana, including all commissioners before the court if the debt is not settled promptly. Meanwhile, in a brief response to the court rate of execution, the chairperson of the National Elections Commission, Deviato Brown Lassana, said NEC will officially speak to the matter through its legal team. The Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency has warned the public against ghetto raids without coordination with the LDEA. In a statement issued Tuesday, the LDA noted that it's important for the general public to exercise caution when engaging or in organizing raids against suspected drug dealers, users, and individuals commonly known as Zogos to ensure public safety and prevent violation of human rights or compromise legal procedures. According to the agency, as the legally mandated institution responsible for combating drug-related crimes across Liberia, it appreciates the growing support from citizens in the fight against illicit drugs, adding that action against suspected drug traffickers or drug-affected communities must be coordinated with the LDA in advance. The statement indicated that the LDA has trained technicians and certified officers equipped to conduct drug testings and investigators per national laws and international standards. In furtherance, the statements emphasize that citizens are encouraged to contact the LDA before taking any action related to suspected drug activities, noting that the LDA, alongside central government, is working tirelessly to rehabilitate drug users, address homelessness among vulnerable populations, and reduce the overall impact of drug abuse in the country. The political leader of the Liberian People's Party, Councillor Tiawan Gonglo, has criticized President Joseph Boakai for what he's described as the president's huge delegation to Japan for the CIDAD conference. That's the TISA conference. The government delegation headed by President Boakai departed the country on Saturday, August 16, with over 40 delegates, including 23 top government officials. Speaking about the government delegation, the renowned human rights lawyer termed the trip as waste of money, noting that Liberia, as the third poorest country in the region, should go for things that will cause positive impacts rather than wasteful spending. Councillor Gonglo noted that the research have shown that Liberia is the only country that have taken high delegation to the conference. As climate financing becomes a vital resource for forest-rich countries, the executive director of the Environmental Protection Agency says Liberia is moving swiftly to position itself as a credible player in the global carbon market. Speaking Tuesday at the Ministry of Cultural Affairs and Tourism regular press briefing, Dr. Emmanuel Yakpawulu outlined an agenda aimed at solving climate funding, conserving forests, and building resilience. According to Dr. Yapawulu, the government of Liberia ambition is clear, but challenges of concerns from the global carbon financing, which talk about governance and transparency. He added that Liberia has signed a letter of agreement with the Coalition for Rainforest Nations on carbon strategy to provide partnership supports for the development of a nation carbon market policy and the execution of a comprehensive forest carbon stock inventory, an essential step in measuring Liberia's climate assets and setting a zero for future transactions. The EPA boss noted that the initiatives includes capacity building for technical experts, use of advanced technologies such as satellite imagery and geo mapping, and nationwide consultation aimed at ensuring that the voices of forest-dependent communities are reflected in the final policy. The Ministry of Finance and Development Planning has officially launched its 5-year strategic plan aimed at improving the mandate and accelerating its works and functions. Speaking at the launching ceremony, Ministry of Finance Deputy Minister for Administration Bill McGill Jones said the plan will address issues that arise from the merger of the Ministry of Finance and Planning, the bringing together of the Bureau of Budget, and the separation of the Department of Revenue to establish the Liberia Revenue Authority. He added that a strategic plan is crucial for the ministry because it will provide the roadmap for achieving a long-term goal in enhancing decision-making, pointing at resource mobilization, and fostering a shared understanding of the objective of the entity. The launching ceremony held at the conference hall of the ministry in Monrovia on Tuesday was launched under the theme Fostering Strategic Priorities and Objectives Through Evidence-Based Planning and Inclusive Economic Development. The Sixth Judicial Circuit Court has ruled that members who broke away from the United Methodist Church Liberia Annual Conference are not entitled to any of its properties. George Smith declared that claims made by the Global Methodist members regarding their rights to a share in church properties are legally unfounded. According to our judicial correspondent, the court's ruling maintained that one cannot transfer or distribute what one does not legally own. The court furthered that Bishop Samuel Kuya had no authority to allocate church properties to the breakaway group, emphasizing that the church trustees are the rightful stewards of its assets. The ruling was triggered from a petition for declaratory judgment and reaffirms the legal ownership and authority of that's the United Methodist Church Liberia Annual Conference over its assets and serve as a precedent in disputes involving religious institutional property rights. In a related development, the Spinandary Magistrate of Monrovia City, Kennedy Peabody, has reserved ruling until Thursday, August 21, following intense legal argument from both sides. A legal battle over the control and operation of the Estate Nangwe United Methodist Church has reached a critical point at the Monrovia City Court at the Temple of Justice. A petition for voluntary and temporary closure of the Estate Nangwe United Methodist Church was filed by the Board of Trustees of the United Methodist Church through its chairperson, Father Herman Brunson, Directress Mother Elizabeth Koyan, and resident Bishop Dr. Samuel Kuya Jr. The petitioners, represented by Councillor Emmanuel T. Reeves, are seeking a temporary closure of the church. They argue that the continued presence and actions of Kupo Toma, a suspended lay leader, and his associates pose a risk of conflict, confusion, and potential violence within the congregation. In response, the respondents, represented by a legal team from the J. Johnny Momo and associates in association with the Unison Law Group Incorporated, strongly challenged the petition. The team includes Councillor John Lawson, Councillor Darius Ambusman, Joseph Tagby, and several others. During their oral arguments, the defense team asserted that the petition is procedurally defective and lacks legal standing. The Church Aid Incorporated, in collaboration with the Pro-Life Global Base in California, USA, has begun a 2-day training for students, volunteers, and religious leaders in Brownsville City, Montserrat County. Speaking during the commencement of the training, Vice President for the Pro-Life Global, Madeleine Salazar Shahab, encouraged the students and volunteers to fund clubs in their communities to encourage women against abortion. According to Madam Sharp, abortion is an act of murder and it constitutes the violation of human rights. For his part, the chairman of the board of directors of the Church Aid Incorporated, Bishop Cotto Brown, claimed that about 73 unborn babies are killed every year globally. Bishop Brown pointed out that the training is intended to prepare people who will curb the killings of unborn babies in their respective communities. Former Finance Minister David Fahai has urged the Liberian government to prioritize the renovation of the E.J. Rowe building on Ashma Street in central Monrovia to be used by the state for revenue generation. The former Finance Minister argued that the building owned by the Grand Ochewe Party was constructed with monies forcefully deducted from employees of the government regardless of being members of the party or not. Fahad proposed the building to be used for school or entertainment hub and further encouraged investors to take advantage of investing in the building. According to him, there is need that the government rethink its decision and reduce the high amount spent on renting buildings from private properties owned by people, most of whom exploited the masses over the years. And as the fight against drugs and illegal substance continues to intensify, citizens of Davis Deanstown in Kokoya District, Bon County on Tuesday staged a protest declaring their opposition to drug use and trafficking. The protest, organized under the leadership of the Go Board President Emmanuel Johnson and David Deanstown Youth President Melvin Shamu, was part of an initiative aimed at discouraging drug-related activities in the gold mining region. According to the protesters, their protest was also intended to raise awareness among youth and residents about the dangers of drug abuse and the need for collective action to rid the area of the growing menace. As part of their demonstration, the citizens presented a formal petition to the district administration calling for greater support and collaboration in the fight to curb the sale and use of drugs. The petition was received by district authorities who acknowledged the community's concerns and vowed to work with legal or local leaders to address the issue. The protest has sparked conversations across the district, with many condemning the citizens or commending the citizens' courage and resolve to comfort and confront the drug problem head on. The news bulletin is back to you, Stephen Compton, for the continuation of King's Newsbroom.
Colonials Johnson, there with the news bulletin, is a regular featured on King's Newsbroom. 45 minutes of news about Liberia and the rest of our one globe. And in one of our top developments, Commercial Code of Liberia temporarily shuts down National Elections Commission for non-compliance with court's ruling regarding payment of M-Tosh Print Media Incorporated with US 171 105 debt. We are taking a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you the voices of the news makers. Welcome back. Now to the first development. The political leader of the Liberian People's Party, Councillor Tiawan Gonglo, has criticized President Joseph Boakai for what he described as the president's huge delegation to Japan for the TICAD conference. The government delegation headed by President Joseph Boakai departed the country on Saturday, August 16, with over 40 delegates, including 23 top government officials. Speaking about the government delegation, the renowned human rights lawyer termed the trip as a waste of money, noting that Liberia, as the third poorest country in the region, should go for things will cause positive impact rather than wasteful spending.
Liberia has the largest delegation in Japan. It is higher than South Africa, than Nigeria, than Egypt. And somebody can come and counter that. You know, when I campaign, I always talk about Botswana. Botswana delegation is led by the vice president, who's also a minister of planning and economic development. And we mention no other minister. This is the first time, not even unaware, that carry a large delegation. You have 12 ministers. There are 20 ministers. 12. That's more than 50% of the ministers going. So no job here. I was just at one hotel and saw a congressional delegation. Who are they going to meet? Congressional delegation from the United States come in, and you take the whole government and take it. Most often, that type of diplomatic delegation, congressional delegation is a high power delegation.
They could meet the vice president.
They could meet the vice president. But your trip is much better, and the country is taking at a higher level in terms of showing respect for the other country if they just even greet the president. Now, the president could have met them yesterday, because they've been here before yesterday, and could have gone yesterday. The president of South Africa left yesterday. Several delegations left yesterday. Why did we leave on the 16th? But you have to weigh the cost of the 10 poorest country spending its money that way, compared to Botswana, not listed among the 10 poorest countries in the world. That is virtually a middle income country now. Using his money wisely and say, only the vice president, who is also minister of planning, finance and economic development will go with lower level people. The size of the delegation is not named, but the research shows that what's the largest delegation in Tokyo? Liberia. But that falls within the extradition treaty. That's crime. It's not a political offense.
LPP political leader Councillor Tiawan Gonglo there speaking. And today's development, as climate financing becomes a vital resource for forest-rich countries, the executive director of the Environmental Protection Agency says Liberia is moving swiftly to position itself as a credible player in the global carbon market. Speaking Tuesday at the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism, Dr. Emmanuel Yakbabulo outlined an agenda aimed at solving climate funding, converting forests, and building resilience. According to Dr. Yakbabulo, the government of Liberia's ambition is clear, but challenges of concerns from the global carbon financing, which talk about governance and transparency.
The National Climate Change Steering Committee mandated the Environmental Protection Agency to lead the development of developing carbon market policy and closely assisted by the Forestry Development Authority when you relate to carbon that is stored in the forest. Since that directive, the EPA, the FDA, and partners have been working tirelessly to develop both the policy framework and the climate change legislation that will govern Liberia's participation in the global carbon market, partnership with Coalition of Rainforest Nations. To strengthen this process, the government of Liberia signed a letter of agreement with the Coalition of Rainforest Nations. This partnership, CFRN, is providing technical assistance to support the drafting of Liberian carbon market policy as well as conducting a comprehensive forest inventory to determine Liberian carbon stock. This stock taking is essential as it will establish the baseline of the country net per capita in terms of carbon storage and set the stage for future participation in the international carbon market. On a capacity building, recognizing the importance of this national national expertise, the government FRN support has been conducting capacity building programs and training for the carbon technical working group, which comprises technicians from land ministries and agencies as well as civil society organizations. These training aim to equip national stakeholders with the skills to collect and manage carbon data to stock of our forest carbon. During the last week of August, CFRN will carry out on-the-ground training in Liberia. Trainees will use modeling technologies, including high-resolution aerial photography and advanced modeling tools to estimate Liberian carbon stock. A similar exercise is already on the way for the country mangrove to determine their carbon storage potential. These steps are essential to ensure Liberia has accurate data on its natural carbon assets, inclusive and participatory policy development. Liberia's draft carbon market policy has already gone on a technical review by experts from land ministries and agencies, civil society.
At the same time, the EPA executive director disclosed an upcoming national dialogue on the draft carbon market policy, adding that it is expected to broaden engagement with stakeholders from across the country, including government ministries, youth and women's groups, development partners, and local communities. Dr. Yuri Yakbawlo maintained that the Environmental Protection Agency and Forestry Development Authority will lead technical development supported by a carbon technical working group with representation from 9 government entities and civil society organizations.
In addition, the National Climate Change Steering Committee Secretariat, which is situated within the EPA, has carried out public consultation in 7 of Liberia's 15 counties, gathering input from local leaders, county authorities, and community representatives. The rest will be covered very soon. These consultations are central to ensuring that the policy reflects the views and needs of ordinary Liberians, especially those whose livelihood depends directly on forests and Natural Resources, the upcoming national dialogue. To build on this momentum and ensure full national ownership, the EPA, along with its partners, under the auspices of the National Climate Change Steering Committee, will convene the national dialogue on the draft carbon market policy from August 21st to 22nd, 2025, in Kanta, Lima County. This dialogue will bring together county superintendents and development superintendents, ministers and head of government agency, civil society organizations and development partners, women and youth leaders, religious leaders and representatives, and other community representatives, as well as media and student groups. The national dialogue is intended to provide a platform for all voices to be heard. Feedback and recommendations gathered will be integrated into a draft carbon market policy, which will then move to a validation stage for formalization pathway to climate change law. Following validation, the next step will be the drafting of a comprehensive climate change law. This law will not only enshrine the carbon market policy, but it will also establish a clear legal framework for climate change governance in Liberia. It will provide the rules, institution, enforcement mechanism needed to guide climate action, regulate emissions, and ensure that Liberia market benefits ensure that carbon market benefits are shared fairly, particularly for forest-dependent and vulnerable communities. Conclusion: Liberia is committed to building a transparent, accountable, and inclusive carbon market system that safeguards our forests, uplift communities, and position the country as a credible player in the global carbon market financing mechanism.
Dr. Emmanuel Yakpawlo is the executive director of the Environmental Protection Agency there speaking during a MICA Tuesday press briefing. The Ministry of Finance and Development Planning has officially launched its 5-year strategic plan aimed at improving the mandate and accelerating its work and functions. Speaking at the launching ceremony, Ministry of Finance Development, the Deputy Minister for Administration, Bill McGill Jones, said the plan will address issues that arose from the mingling of the Ministry of Finance and Planning, that breaking of the Bureau of Budget, and the separation of the Department of Revenue to establish the Liberia Revenue Authority. He added that the strategy plan is crucial for the ministry, noting that it will provide the roadmap for achieving a long-term goal in enhancing decision-making, pointing out resources mobilization, and fostering a shared understanding of the objective of the entity.
We gathered today in fulfillment of a promise we made 18 months ago to begin the process that will see the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning under the leadership of Augustine Gaforn to develop an ambitious plan for the next 5 years under the theme fostering strategic priorities and the objectives through evidence-based planning for inclusive economic development. We made a promise to change things around, starting immediately with the restoration of confidence from the Liberian people, our partners, the business community, and you, the employee of the Ministry of Finance. Today, we've gathered to begin the development of a strategic plan, which is crucial for the Ministry of Finance because it will provide a roadmap for achieving a long-term goal, enhancing decision-making, optimizing resource mobilization, and also fostering a shared understanding of objectives. It will allow the Ministry of Finance to be proactive rather than reactive. It anticipates challenges. It will adapt to changes that we will confront in the future in the environment and timely increase the likelihood of success for us and sustainability. The development of the strategic plan includes 3 major steps. 1, it will begin with the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning itself, from departments to units and to individuals. 2, we will deal with our development planning partners to ensure that their views and aspirations and their voice are heard. 3, we we will deal with civil society institutions that are working with the Ministry of Finance to ensure that this is collective and inclusive. Once the plan is developed, it will set forth 7 key priorities. The first, it will set a clear direction for the ministry. 2, it will also enhance decision-making for the ministry. 3, it will optimize resource allocation. 4, it will improve our adaptive capacity to ensure that we can withstand shocks and new events that are coming forth. 5, it will foster our collaboration as a team and a ministry that monitors and take care of the entire development of this country. 6, it will increase accountability. And 7, it will build competitive advantage for us as a ministry.
Ministry of Finance, that's Deputy Minister for Administration, Bill Miguel Jones, there speaking. And we have an hour past the news presentation. This is a reminder that you are listening to the Wednesday, August 20, 2025 edition of King's Newsbroom, a 45 minutes news presentation about Liberia and the rest of our one world. We are taking a very short break. When we come back, we'll bring you more developments. Welcome back to this development. The Church Aid Incorporated, in collaboration with the Pro-Life Global base in California, US, has begun a 2-day training for students, volunteered and religious leaders in Brazil. Speaking during the ceremony of the training, Vice President of the Pro-Life Global, Mandalene Sharp, encouraged the students and volunteers to form clubs in their communities to encourage women against abortion. According to Madam Sharp, abortion is an act of murder and it constitutes the violation of human rights.
Babies were still being legally killed. It's estimated in 1 year around the world, there are about 73 million abortions happening around the world. 1 year. And that's just the abortions we know about that are being reported. So God really opened up my heart to want to fight for the unborn throughout the world. So we have trained, I believe, about 8,000 people so far, mostly in your continent, Africa, and we've saved hundreds of babies. Building a culture of life starts with you. It starts in your home. It starts in your backyard. It starts with the decisions that you make today to be an influence for the people around you. It starts by being the change that you want to see. I want to encourage you that you too can fight for life. You could start a life team, a pro-life club in your school, in your community, and you can be an influence to help girls who may find themselves in unexpected pregnancies, to walk with them throughout pregnancy and beyond. As pro-life people, we don't say, have the baby and good luck afterwards. No, we're pro-life. We say, I will be here with you every step of the way. About 96% of biologists agree that life begins at fertilization. And I know that humans create humans. Preborn, the unborn, the babies in the womb are human, and humans are valuable. We are equal, whether we are born humans or preborn humans in the womb. The right to life, not just for born humans, but also for preborn humans, the humans in the womb. Abortion is killing. It kills a baby in the womb, either by starving the baby or dismembering the baby or giving the baby a heart attack. There's different types of abortion procedures, but every abortion kills the baby. And to try to be that light in the darkness, to speak from life in a culture of death, and to protect babies in the womb and help women throughout pregnancy and beyond.
For his part, the chairman of the board of directors of the Church Aid Incorporated, Bishop Kotu Brown, claimed that about 73 million unborn babies are killed every year globally.
The biggest investment anybody can have is in the building, the cars, education. What is it? Life. Without life, is there anything you can enjoy? Without life, you cannot enjoy anything. And the example is when you get sick. How many of you got really sick and you thought you would die? Why were you afraid to die? Tell me, what were you afraid to die? Because you don't want to lose your life. Life is precious. Now, we have different arguments in the world about how we sustain life, how we keep life. And we got different things that are working against our sustenance of life, keeping life. So, yeah, we are on a campaign several years now for the protection of life and family. Because the family is the factory for the production of what? Life. The family produce life, family keep life. So if those two things are undermined, then of course we have a serious problem in any society. So we run this campaign, and Church Aid has done this 27 years this year. Church Aid is doing a lot of good things, around Liberia, in West Africa. Just in April, they were in Sierra Leone, on the protection of life and family. Then 2 weeks ago, Reverend Sally was in Ivory Coast, talking to about 600 women in the Ivory Coast on the protection of life and family. So we are here this week. We invited a group in the U.S. called Pro-Life. And one of the things that they're doing, primarily Pro-Life Global, there's an estimate that about 73 million babies are killed every year in the world. And it's a goal of Pro-Life to train 73 million lifesavers to protect.
Former Finance Minister David Fahad has urged the Liberian government to prioritize the renovation of the E.J. Raw building on Asmore Street in Central Monrovia to be used by the state for revenue generation. The former finance minister argued that the building owned by the Green Ochuwin party was constructed with monies forcefully deducted for employees of government regardless of being member of the party or not. Fahad proposed the building be used for school or entertainment hub and further encouraged investors to take advantage of investing in the building.
The true party building, that building, we all build it, all the Liberian people. The government should call for them now, or the government to try to resuscitate that building and put it to use. The money from the children's school, all Liberians were private members of the True Party. They call my money every year, every month, of salary to build the building, so nobody can cancel that building. I only do. My money is out. And so everybody was working in government. Put the building to use. They're just standing there, and nobody sees them. Sometimes in this country, when I was finance minister, I had you see the finance ministry, it has an extension behind from Broad Street, it goes to Cable Street, around, and come back. The annex, they call it. It's a 3-story annex. The top of it was flat roof, and it started to leak. I had my office in the second floor. When it rained outside, it leaked outside, rain. So they decided what they needed to do is to do something. They wanted to cover it. So they gave a contract to a company. The man went and assessed it. Just to put thing on. The man assessed the building and says, if I put it that way, it won't be all right. Foundation is very strong. If we can raise it, then we'll put the roof. And you have another floor. That man went through 2 finance ministers. I was the third one, came to see me. And they told me they had this contract, but they have not implemented it because it won't look good to just put thing on. I said, what? We haven't done it because you're the third one we're coming to now. I was shocked because, all logic, anybody was, why won't you do that? You already need space. So I approve it, call my deputy minister, and I said, take these people to the public government. Say, yes, let them look at this. If the first floor is there now, so now we fight ourselves. We fight each other. That's what brought the war here. You're doing something and people begin to fight you. They go to the president with all kind of lies. That you doing this, you doing that, you want this. What kind of people are we?
Former Finance Minister David Fahad there speaking. And now, ahead of the news presentation is our foreign news, but this development sets the pace. As fight against drug and illegal substances continue to intensify, citizens of David Dane's town in Kokoya District, Bong County, on Tuesday staged a protest declaring their opposition to drug use and trafficking. The protest, organized under the leadership of the Go Boy President Emmanuel Johnson and David Dane's Town Youth President Melvin Shinun, was part of an initiative aimed at discouraging drug-related initiative in the gold mining region. According to the protesters, the protests were also intended to raise awareness among youth and residents about the dangers of drug abuse and the need for collective action to rid the area of growing lands.
We, the citizens, the youth, and women of this community, we gather here today to petition the district authority about the illegal substance in our community. For the past 6-7 months, we are losing more than 10 persons for the David son. And more of them dying from these narcotic drugs. As we all know that drug is illegal in Liberia. So we gather together, we say enough is enough. We brought our petition to you to extend it to the district, the county at large, the country. That as of today's date, we don't want drugs in David Town in its surrounding. We tired dying. We tired losing our brothers and sisters. So today, we want you to join us and inform our lawmakers, our district authority, how they can help us to make the community free from drugs. Thank you.
And now, on the way from home, Burkina Faso John Todd has spurred the UN's top official to the West African nation over a report about children caught up in the jihadist conflict. Covering a 2-year period, the study detailed more than 2,000 cases of reported child killing and sexual violence and abuse, blaming Islamic government soldiers and civilian defense forces. The military government, which came to power in September 2022 and is led by Captain Ibrahim Traoré, said it had been consulted by the UN, saying the report contained unfounded allegations. That's the foreign news, and it is taking us home on today's edition of the news program. But before we take leave of you, quickly of a reminder of stories we follow this afternoon. U.S. Department of State's 2024 Investment Climate Report on Liberia indicates bad governance, corruption, and how human development says public trust in the banking sector is low. Commercial Code of Liberia temporarily shuts down National Elections Commission for non-compliance with court's ruling regarding payment of MNOJ that Touch Print Media Incorporated with US $171,000 debt. Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency warns citizens against ghetto raid after LDEA approval and coordination, describes it as risks to public safety, violation of human rights, and compromised legal procedure. The way from whom Burkina Faso's junta has expelled the UN top official to the West African nation over report about citizens caught up in the jihadist conflict. There's no to like to say many thanks to our news writers reporters, and editors for making today's news presentation a success. Colonial Johnson was here with the news bulletin, and Jenny Persiman sat at control and ably coordinated the sound. I'm Stephen Compton. Thanks for listening and watching.